afternoon. So this is a little interview that we're going to do with Pia. Pia is one of our acupuncturists, or our only acupuncturist at Total Therapy Studios. So I just wanted to have a little chat with you, Pia, just to really give our clients, old and new, some feel really about what you do, what you bring to your treatments, the scope of actually what you can offer, because I know that acupuncture is probably a very small part of your journey and how you got to where you are. So I thought it would be nice just for people to put a face behind the website and put a bit of personality behind it. So I'm going to hand over to you. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about your journey and why you kind of went down this path in the first place.
Okay, well, hi everybody. Yes, okay, I'm Pia, and I have been doing acupuncture at Total Therapy Studios for quite a few years now. And it was quite a long way to get to acupuncture, but then I also do other things alongside with it. So it's probably easiest if I explain a little bit of how I got to do what I am doing now.
Yeah.
So I'm from Finland, because many people ask me because of my accent where I'm from. And I know it doesn't sound Finnish, I don't sound Swedish, so let's bring it here now. I'm from Finland. And I think I've always been interested in nutrition, kind of in diet as such, or kind of vitamins and you know, how to eat to actually also be healthy, really. And I think I got my mum a lot to thank for that. And also I grew up so that in the summers we used to basically, we had a summer house on an island between Finland and Sweden. And
Nice.
we did a lot of foraging. We kind of ate fish pretty much every day during the whole summer. And so we had a really, really healthy life in that sense. And I think it was only kind of in my 20s, I did loads of different things because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But in my 20s, at some point, I started importing a natural cosmetic brand from Italy, which was one of the first ones that actually didn't use preservatives.
Right.
Except for basically completely natural ones. And they also did lots of essential oils. So I had to learn everything about every plant that they used. And those were also based on Ayurveda. So
Okay.
I had to find out so much about Ayurveda and Ayurvedic medicine. And then also learn a lot about essential oils, their uses, and all the benefits from them, because I then had to also teach this to everybody. So I did this for a few years, and I could see the healing benefits that would come from these products. But I also hated selling things, because I can't sell anything for my life. I'm always going to be like, do you have money for this? Do you rather kind of buy something else, you know, for your family? Maybe you need to have the heating on, and kind of just assuming that people have no money at all. So
Yeah.
it really isn't the best place to sell anything. So I then started looking for some kind of therapy to do, and I tried quite a few different ones, and they just didn't feel right. And that's not to say that the therapies aren't good or anything, because it just has to correspond with you.
Mm.
So I'm not saying any of the ones that I tried aren't good at all.
Yeah, it has to hit you here, doesn't it?
It has to hit you here. It has to be something that, you know, you can work with and bring the best out to the person you would treat.
Yeah.
And if you're in the wrong one and you don't believe in it, or it doesn't correspond to you, then, you know, you're going to do a lousy job or no job at all.
Yeah.
So it has to kind of come from your heart, and it needs to go with how you feel that you can use it, and it just kind of fits in perfectly, which I'm sure you have, Sarah. It just,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I went to lots of things, and then a friend of mine told me about this acupuncture seminar or introduction, and it was a beautiful Sunday. So I cycled to this clinic, standing outside the door, which is closed, and it doesn't look like anybody is there. And at that time, my friend was not the type that would actually have a mobile phone on her, because, okay, they weren't brand new, but they weren't that
Yeah.
So
they were about that big as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, shall I call her? She's not going to answer. And actually, it's a really nice day to be on the beach. So I'm standing there thinking, call or not, yeah, she's not going to answer. But she answered. There I went, and I went to this information thing, didn't know anything about acupuncture, but loved the philosophy. And within 2 weeks, I started the course.
Oh, wow.
And everything changed after that. And I'm so glad I went, because, yeah, obviously this is what I do a lot of. And then in the end, I came to England to then finish the course, which was a 4-year full-time course here. So I probably did 5 years of acupuncture training rather than the 4.
Yeah.
And absolutely loved it, because it's working with energy and feeling pulses, and that, which will actually tell me what's going on inside people, rather than just asking questions and kind of getting an idea what's going on. By feeling pulses, then I can actually find out really what is going on. And then by trying to balance them, then that's where things really start to change internally as well, both emotionally and physically. And it's great because also you can feel back pain. You can go, it's like, okay, it's on these pathways, let's release that, and actually the pain will go. So it can be actually amazing. And yeah, it's energy. And that really kind of works for me really well.
So I think a lot of people might ask the question about the pulses, because I know we know we've got a pulse, we can feel it.
Yes.
Whereas I know that you are aware of many more pulses than that. So how do you learn that? Is it an intuitive skill, or do you need to learn what the pulses are? Because I know that I don't know a lot about it. But I know that when I've had treatment with you, you'll talk about a kidney pulse or a different sort of pulse. So can you explain a little bit more about that?
I'll do my best. So on both wrists, you got 6 pulses that correspond to different organs. And then there's a few other ones as well. But like the main ones, you would have kind of kidney, bladder together, liver, gallbladder, and heart, small intestine on this side. And on the other side, you got 6 other ones. So it took us, I think we started in the 2nd year of the college, with every week we had different classes or in clinic, just feeling the pulse. So in the beginning, it was just, you need to feel there's different locations. So for instance, liver and gallbladder would be on top of each other. So you need to kind of feel different levels, and they got 3 different levels to them, and there's kind of spaces in between and so on. So it takes quite a long time to learn. And then of course, so that's why we had 3 years of kind of learning those and distinguishing different things, because then even if you feel the pulse, then you need to feel that is it weak, is it strong, is there heat, is there cold, is there can be wind, there can be damp in there, and then also what those things then mean. And then of course then you have the acupuncture points, which it's about 360 just normal points with different qualities. And then what you want to do is, if you for instance feel like dampness on the pulse, you want to go and take away that dampness in some way. And if you start to take that away, then the pulse can start to move normally, and then also then that person is going to start to feel a lot better.
Because I think this is one of the things that people probably don't understand about the breadth of acupuncture, is that what you actually learn is a huge amount of different elements that you bring into that treatment. You learn a lot about the nutrition, the kind of the face, the tongue, the eyes, and what that can tell you. And there's lots of different, I think a lot of people might just think it's just somebody sticking needles in you and leaving you to it. But I think the sort of acupuncture that your 5-year training has led you to is very different to potentially what I might understand as acupuncture, with a dry needling technique, which again is very different. So I think it's important for people to potentially understand the difference between those 2 skills and those 2 trainings, because they are wildly different. I think as a physical therapist, I can learn dry needling very quickly, but what I learn is nothing like what you would learn in that. So could you explain to people why potentially that those sorts of perceptions of acupuncture are very different, and what the 4 or 5 years kind of bring to that in terms of the difference between the traditional, is it the traditional Chinese acupuncture? Is that TCM, is it called?
Yeah,
Versus
I actually don't really do TCM, because TCM is kind of a thing that came out in the 1950s, kind of that name for it. And at least what I've been told is that they used herbalism a lot before then and translated it to acupuncture points.
right.
The TCM can be a lot more almost like giving a herbal formula of certain points. So in that case, you wouldn't really have to feel the pulse so much, because, you know, shoulder pain, do these points. But saying that, I mean, some of those points are really brilliant to work with shoulder pain. So it's not the question of that not working. So, but traditional Chinese medicine in itself is also, it goes really, really far back. And I think the difference is also that when you go, because acupuncture is so old, or Chinese medicine is so old. So when you learn a lot about also how things work and kind of the energy behind things and how they correlate to each other. For instance, in Chinese medicine, we have known that there's a huge connection, for instance, between the liver and the lung and the large intestine. Nowadays, you go into medicine and sometimes, for instance, with cancers, they think it's like, well, how can colon cancer spread to the liver and to the lungs? And in Chinese medicine, it's like, yeah, because, you know, we've always known that there's a correlation here. So if we have to take something out, we need to make sure that it's kind of out of all of those kind of free organs, for instance, or etc. So there's so much behind it. And of course, whilst we studied acupuncture, we did pathology, we did physiology, we did nutrition, we did all of these other things as well. But at the same time, we also did all of these things which, like, really getting very into how the energy works, so that, you know, kind of we look at bodies and the body diagnosis on certain things and how people speak, you know, color of the skin, and look at the tongue. The tongue is also a good way, like the pulse, but the pulse is actually, I think, much more accurate and much quicker to change. Right. So we look at lots of little things, and I did a 2-year course, I think it was 2 or 3-year course, and also kind of Western pathology and kind of related to acupuncture, so that the Western pathology was translated into energies, and then looking at different basically illnesses or diseases and what they are, how they correspond into Chinese medicine, so that we know how to treat it and energetically what is going on. So it's even from that point of view, it's very different to dry needling, where you most likely, it's like, okay, the pain is here, we're going to treat it here. Whilst if something is going on here, I might go with the opposite, and I might actually treat the leg to heal things in the shoulder. Or so, but that's where the control mechanism goes always back to the pulse, where you then see, okay, is this working? Isn't this working? What do I need to switch? Do we need to do anything more? Do we need? So it's almost like tuning a piano in a way. It's that fine tuning going on all the time, and sometimes it's peeling off layer after layer, because if something's been there for a very long time, you have to take a little bit off and kind of allow the body to start changing, and also sometimes you have to talk about what changes in your life do you need to do, and what changes in nutrition do you need to do. So because sometimes we get used to living in a certain way and eating in a certain way, and that becomes our normal. And in the end, we don't even realize that actually that's not beneficial for us, and that's not helping us. But the contrary, it's actually making us maybe feel quite ill, or at least stopping us from feeling really, really healthy.
Yeah, and I think that's a important point, because I think what the treatment that you deliver, it's looking at that whole body and trying to get that whole body back into some sort of physical, energetic kind of balance. Because like you say, a lot of treatment protocols would say, right, there's a bad shoulder, let's look at that. But even I know through what I do that there's different reasons for that shoulder pain. They're not always on the site. They're not always related to the shoulder. They could be related to stress levels. They could be related to trauma. They could be related to something very psychological as well. And I think what I love about your treatments especially is that you look at that whole entity and kind of think, well, actually, we're not just treating this with acupuncture. We're not just treating it. We're looking at your whole lifestyle factors, environmental factors, the biopsychosocial factors of environment. And I know that you're very experienced with kind of nutrition, and I know that you do some really good stuff with kind of seasonal eating. And I think, what we, like you say, we get into these habits and patterns, but actually we're not eating naturally anymore. We're not eating in accordance with seasons. There's a lot of information or a lot of misinformation at the moment about inflammation in the body, and people are taking turmeric tablets like they're going out of fashion and all of these sorts of things. So I think people are starting to realize that actually medicine is all around us, but actually people don't have the right information necessarily to access what is right for their individual needs. And I think that's why I think it's important to potentially consult a professional about these sorts of things, because there's so much information out there and you could be going down a very wrong path of what your body needs. And I think your diagnostic system through acupuncture, with the pulses and with all the tools that you use, you're actually really tailoring that to each individual, and you're looking at people's inflammatory factors, you're reading their pulses, you're asking them about their lifestyle, their diet, their mental health. And I think we're starting to realize now that we have to look at people in this whole holistic way, because we're getting so much recurrence of the same problems. So what is being missed? And I think what you deliver is something that, from my own experiences, is so powerful, because you bring so many different things into that arena. And I think that's a really important point to get across to people, that it's not just going in and sticking some needles in and that's your treatment, and expecting that with no explanation or kind of understanding of the person about what other factors are going to make that journey a positive one.
Yeah, I try to bring in, and kind of every time I see somebody, I always ask them how they are, etc. So, for instance, I could use a little bit of an example with somebody, not kind of going into it at all, into any detail, but somebody who was pregnant. And of course, when you're kind of quite early on in your pregnancy, kind of thinking, I'm so kind of scared I might lose the baby, etc. And then kind of scans being postponed until a lot later, and thinking, kind of check my pulses, is the baby still there, which I can do, and I can kind of say, okay, I think everything is fine, and I can help through the first trimester because I can feel on the pulses or I know where there are more risks, etc.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing somebody who just came and said, I'm so scared. It's like, okay, well, let's see. And then whilst the needles were in, we did the meditation where I helped her actually connect to the womb and to the baby. And she's like, yeah, I can feel the baby now. I haven't done that before. It's like, well, now you don't have to see me to find out if your baby is okay, because you can feel the baby inside. She said, I haven't done that before at all. So it is also about creating kind of also this kind of getting rid of these anxieties, but also connecting people to themselves and feeling in themselves what's right and wrong, and guide them in the way that they need at that time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people might not know that you're also a trained yoga teacher as well. And you practice yoga, you practice meditation, and that's all part of what you bring to your clients. But also I think you do have some specialisms as well, and you mentioned one there with fertility, and I know that you've had an awful lot of success with fertility problems, and many people that I know that have had problems with conceiving for years and years and years, and your treatment has changed their lives in the fact that they all have children now. So
Yeah, that's where I think we live in a time at the moment where we also, especially now, need to look at food and need to also look very much into how certain foods, for instance, affect our hormone balance. And then there's all the stress, etc. But there are also what we think is normal food and what should be good for us and maybe advertised for us, which can be real hormone disruptors and kind of really play havoc. So those are also things that kind of need to be looked at. And then, of course, with the acupuncture, we can balance other things like the anxieties and bring the blood flow back and do the connecting of all the different things. And also, to look at lifestyle and all of these things, and then help with, if there are any IVF treatments, we can help with that. But also that, there's so much you can do with fertility. Definitely.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, good. I think hopefully that gives people a little bit of a feel for what you do. I think it's going to be a useful little chat for people, because I think understanding the scope of acupuncture, but not only acupuncture, but what you bring to it, which I think, as you say, your journey has taken on lots of different elements from your life experience, from your family, your environment, your learnings over the years. And I think all of the what I love about all of the team at Total Therapy is that we're all learning all the time, and we all like to bring different elements into what we do. So I think it's very hard to describe anyone as this is the therapist I am, because the reason that I love the team that we have is because of all those different things that we bring into it, and the fact that we all work with each other to understand that no treatment in isolation is going to be everybody's solution. So it's nice to have people that we can refer to, and vice versa, because, I think you've got to put the client in the forefront of what you do, and try to find them the best person to help them. And that could be by using lots of different disciplines, or it could be that one person's journey is a very different therapist to another. So I think, it's lovely, and I'm very glad to have you as part of the team.
I think it's really nice, actually, with Total Therapy that there's loads of us that do different things. But I think also the really nice thing is we're all learning something new constantly, and we're wanting to learn. And that also makes us change a little bit all the time, so that we can adapt to whoever we see. But also so that we know that, I'm not the right person for you right now. You need to see this person or that person. Or maybe you need to see 2-3 people kind of in between, so that we can all do our little share, so that, we can bring the best out of you, so that you can heal really quickly. Yeah. Rather than sometimes people you just need to see me and nobody else. So I think it's so nice with Total Therapy Studios that, we don't do that. We just find what's best for the client.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Number one. It's not about us, it's about the client and their well-being and their health and their happiness.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, thank you, Pia. On that note, I shall let you get on with your not so sunny afternoon. Lovely to speak to you, and hopefully we will see you soonish.
Whenever that will be.
Whenever that will be. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wave Beats